Okay, so let's start this Cape Biology 2016. So, which three of the following characteristics of water are of biological significance?
B.
B.
Sir.
Somebody said something? One, two, one for B. Which of the following polymers is produced upon union of several of these monomers? What type of glucose is this?
That's beta.
So
Or
beta.
cellulose.
So it's beta. Right, so it's cellulose. Beautiful. 3. A diet high in triglycerides may lead. Oh, we saw this already. This repeated. Right? These repeated as well, right? Peptide, B. This repeated.
Yes, sir.
Alright.
I think the
So,
options with 3 are a bit different. There's something with a fatty acid.
for 3.
Yes.
Oh, let's have a look at it then, since the answers changed. So features most likely contributes to this is no. So that's fine. So it will still remain. I think the answer will still remain A. Right, but they have different things there. So collagen exhibits a second. This repeated. So what's the answer? This is the answer, C. They didn't even move the answer from C. This repeated, right? So we're seeing the formation of what? Maltose, right? Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. For 7, which of the following apply only to intracellular membranes? What does intracellular mean?
So like membranes inside the membrane. So like mitochondria membranes.
Okay. So what only applies to it? Cellulose separation of the cell contents from. So it can be external, right? So I don't think it can be external. Because if it's inside, like the mitochondrial membrane and the chloroplast, right? The membrane of chloroplast, it would be that. So enable separate compartments to be formed, that's true. And support metabolic true. So 2 and 3, C. That's 7. For 8, which of the following is not typical of a bacterium?
So I have a question about 7, sir.
7. Okay.
Say the cell were to, I don't know how it works, but say the cell were to burst though, and then the components were just everywhere. Wouldn't the membrane still be able to like separate it from the external environment, like the things inside the cell?
The intracellular membrane. We're talking about the intracellular membranes, right? Being like the membrane of the mitochondria and the chloroplast, right?
Yes, sir.
It will still be able to separate the chloroplast content and the mitochondrial content from the outside world, yes.
Okay, sir.
It should be able, for as long as it's as possible, right? It will try. Which of the following is not typical of a bacterium?
B.
Who? No, bacteria have ribosomes,
What?
then how are they going to create the protein?
No, nuclear membrane.
Oh, so you say bacteria have DNA?
Yes, circular DNA.
Okay, so remember that. Okay. So nuclear membranes, because they don't have a nucleus, right? Perfect. So we're paying attention. Which of the following correctly identifies the structures 1, 2, and 3? This repeated. Let's go. 10. Which structure is found in both a prokaryotic and a eukaryotic cell? Ribosome, this repeated. Right? This repeated as well. Look at repeats. Hopefully it repeats like this. Which of the following is an example of this repeated as well? Which of the following is this repeated as well? Look at that. We hope that this will be the same thing, right? The same thing that occurs on the paper for this year. Which of the following graphs best shows the effect of pH on the reaction velocity of an enzyme?
Sir, D.
D, sir.
Beautiful. We have it locked. This repeat, right, loses its tertiary structure. Right, makes sense. This repeated as well. It's always 1 and 3. Don't take that to know, right? It's always 1 and 3 for all the questions we've seen so far, but they may change it up, right? So remember uracil and the ribose. So the base sequence of a codon labeled X. So what is this? So the nucleotides here are what? C, G, C. So what is the codon?
GCG.
D?
GCG.
Oh, so we're saying it's going to be G, C, G. Does anybody have any issues remembering what goes to what? Anyone have any issues with remembering that? The thing that I used to remember it is that, well, the first time I saw it, I just say apple tree. So the apple is to the tree as the car is to the garage, right? Apple key car garage, right? So I just use that to remember it. And then sometimes T can be replaced with U, right? So sometimes the apple can go to you if you're gonna eat the apple. Like that's the only thing that I used to remember it. Okay. So the answer is what? GCG. So it's GCGB. Alright. Which of the following statements about semi-conservative replication of DNA is most appropriate?
D.
D. Alright, so that's one parental strand and one new strand. That's why it's semi-conservative. Alright. This repeated, right? So this is what? Metaphase, prophase, and anaphase. See. 20. Which of the following is not true about... Okay, this is repeated. 21. Which of the following events of meiosis contributes directly to variation? Right? We saw this as well, separation of homologous pairs. So that's through independent assortment. So it contributes directly to variation. Here,
Yes,
go ahead. You have a question?
I wasn't here. Yeah, I wasn't here when you explained why the answer wasn't D. But why couldn't D work for that one?
For which one? This? 21?
Yes.
Okay, so we're saying for this, right? Meiosis, right? So for meiosis, the formation of spindle fibers won't directly influence variation. The attachment of bivalents to spindle fibers, right, won't do it either because A and C are technically saying the same thing. Right? Genetic rearrangement between non-sister chromatids. Right? What does that speak to? What are the sister chromatids?
So when they say non-sister chromatids, wouldn't that just be like the crossing over segment?
Crossing over?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought initially when I saw it, I thought it was just the homologous pair. Like the adjacent chromatids would just have the crossing over, and those would be the non-sister chromatids that are swapping.
So one of these would be the chromatid, right?
Yes, sir.
Combine at the centromere. Alright, so we're saying that the genetic rearrangement of two, so let's get another. And we're saying that if this overlaps, right, we're going to have crossing over here, and that will lead to genetic variation. So I would say that does, right, but we're looking for the best answer. I would say that does, for the most part. Let's think about this a little bit more then. Separation of homologous pairs. When we separate the homologous pairs, that's through anaphase, right?
Yes, sir.
So I would believe that after you have the rearrangement, okay, sister chromatids. What are sister chromatids? Chromatids that exist on the same sphere, right? On the same chromosome, right?
Yes, sir.
Genetic rearrangement happen between sister chromatids? No. They happen between non-sister, right? So it makes sense here for D. So you're saying that crossing over, which one is more directly contributes to variation? Crossing over or independent assortment? So I think it's something like that. So
Sorry,
go ahead.
I have a question about B though. Is it exactly like, I mean, I get the independent assortment thing, but I thought it was more talking about like when these chromosomes get separated, um, like this is after crossing over. So like they've now swapped their genetic material and now they're getting separated. That's what I was kind of thinking. But I know independent assortment does.
Yeah, but it's exactly like that. After crossing over, then there's separation, right? Because remember, crossing over happens in metaphase, right? Wouldn't it happen in metaphase? Or it happens before metaphase? Which one?
So isn't that in prophase?
Oh, prophase. Sorry, prophase. Right? Haven't done this in years, right? So prophase, right? So we have it in prophase, and then after that, no, right? We have the splitting in anaphase, right? So we have the creation of some type of recombinant like type of chromosomes, right? Rearranged, and then after that, no, it is independently sorted, right? So it is brought to opposite sides of the cell, right? um in any arrangement possible. So so let me see, what are we saying for this one? I'm really thinking of this now. So B would occur at the last division and D sounds more like more variation more. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Remember that B and D contribute to variation. You know, it's not that one is more than the other, right? It's just like both of them are variation, right? But directly attracted to variation. Is it that this is a different answer from what we've put for the other ones?
I think we had B for the other one, but we're saying it could be D.
Yeah. So you said that B happens in the first stage, right?
Not B, right? We're saying that D, right? Crossing over happens, right? And then after all of that, they're aligned along the equator of the cell, and then anaphase happens. So, we're probably gonna have to recheck all the other ones like this. Let's put an asterisk here. Probably have to recheck all of the other ones, cause it may be a bit different. Cause now to think of it, right? The separation of homologous pairs can happen, right? I want us to follow. Place ones in the chat if you're following, cause this explanation is a bit weird-ish, right? But we're following, right? So like homologous pairs are gonna be separated anyway, right? But they wouldn't have different genetic information if it wasn't for crossing over. So I think it makes sense. Because if they separate, right, they will still have the general DNA composition, right, that they had in the first place. So it sounds plausible that if crossing over never really happened, right, then could be plausible that that is direct link to variation. Okay. So we're gonna have to check back the other ones. For the other ones, I'll probably make a note of it for the recordings. Alright. So we're looking at it. That's how paper one's going. Answers change and opinions differ. Is this a repeat of the epistasis question?
Oh, yes, sir.
This is a repeat, epistasis. Let me read through. Alright. Yes, epistasis. Alright, let's look at what's happening here. Which of the following pairs of genotypes would both produce cats with white fur? So let's understand what's happening, right? So the dominant allele B of one gene gives black fur, and when we have common B, it's brown, right? So we have to take that into consideration. Right? So black, and then, well, I don't know why my B looks like brown. Right? And then we have down here P, capital P. Obviously can get inhibits. Okay, so capital P inhibits, and common P is nothing. So capital P inhibits, and then common P nothing. Right? So what's happening here? What would produce? Okay, which two would produce white fur?
D.
D, sir.
D, sir.
All right, D. Are we sure? Oh yeah, it makes sense. So 24, right? Which of the following is true of restriction enzymes?
A, sir.
A.
Okay. So the argument here is that the restriction enzymes will cut, right? But we need specific restriction enzymes, right? That will cut at specific sequences, right? That will produce sticky ends for our specific engineering that we're doing. Right? So it depends, right? So it depends on which one we're doing, or which plasmid we're working with, or which piece of DNA we're working with it. That will now determine the restriction enzyme that we use. Right? So I think that's that. 25. Despite the benefit of gene therapy, many people have reservations about its use. Which of the following concerns about gene therapy may be considered as a hazard?
E.
Repeat.
C, sir.
Soaring seas. Viruses used to deliver DNA to the nucleus, right, of a cell may cause disease in affected individuals. Makes sense. That's a hazard. Right? It doesn't really happen really much, right? I don't believe so. But yeah. 26. Which of the following events that occur during a meiosis is most likely to result in chromosomal mutation? Repeat. Non-disjunction. Right, populations of salmon fish, Pacific salmon, we still have disruptive. Right? Which of the following best explains why the biological species concept often used to define a species is limited in its application? What was the answer that we came up for this? Polymorphism?
Yes, sir.
Polymorphism. Interesting. Alright. 29. There are various isolating mechanisms which can result in populations of the same species evolving into two distinct species. Which of the following is an example of behavioral isolation? Right? This. Okay. 30. Sickle cell anemia is okay. We saw this already, right? What's the answer for this?
B.
B, sir.
D as in dog or B as in boy?
Boy.
B,
As
sir.
in boy.
Okay. Beta globin polypeptide. Alright. So we're looking at this exact same, this question, right? We have C here, and we have what develops into endosperm? B. The most
What's our A? For
RA?
what's our A?
Can't be A, man.
No, what's our A? Like, what is the name of the
Okay,
structure?
what are the names here? Anybody can remember? Antipodals, right?
Those, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
The antipodals. Why can't I write an N properly? Antipodals. Alright? Beautiful. The most important advantage of sexual reproduction is that
C, sir.
the adaptation to changing. Okay, C is the best then. Okay. 34. Which of the following types of plants use mechanisms which guarantee cross fertilization?
A.
Dioecious. Yes, yes, yes. Because that means that one plant is male and the other plant is female. Right? So it promotes cross fertilization. Right? 35. In plant tissue culture, or we answered this before, right? So repeat. D. Which of the following correctly identifies types of asexual reproduction? 1, 2, 4. B. We agree?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Alright. So which label structures produce fluids that help transport sperm?
1 and 4.
1 and 4. Alright. That makes sense. Are we able to label the rest of these structures?
Yes, sir.
What is 1?
Prostate gland.
Then
What is 4?
Seminal vesicle.
Seminal vesicle.
Alright, what is 2?
Penis, sir.
Not necessarily. But,
The tissues.
well, there will be tissues there. But generally we can label it as that then. Right, probably here it's probably pointing to either the corpus spongiosum, right, or the corpus cavernosum, but generally let's just call it the penis. What is 5?
Scrotum, sir. No.
Who's the scrotum?
Testes.
You have lost mic privileges for the next 5 minutes.
I guess I think I should mute, sir. Yeah, let me do that.
What is 3?
Prostate bladder.
The bladder. Alright. 38. Which of the following is true about double fertilization in flowering plants?
D.
D. Alright. What is another name for flowering plants?
Angiosperm.
Repeat.
Angiosperm.
Angiosperms. And the other is the non-flowering is? Not hearing it? Gymnosperm. The answer is gymnosperm. Alright, so 39. Which of the following is a difference between the secondary oocyte and the ovum?
B, sir.
D, sir.
The secondary...
Well, B or D,
Mm,
but I guess D. I prefer D.
D is a little bit better. Yeah, D is a little bit better. It's much better. Right? But remember, it's a primary. The primary has 2 polar body. The secondary has 1 polar body. Right? Which it loses after fertilization. Alright. 40. The nucleus of the ovum occupies a much smaller portion of the cell than does the nucleus of a sperm. This is because...
C.
C?
C, sir.
Alright, the food stores. Right, the hormone that stimulates spermatogenesis in the seminiferous tubules is...
B, sir.
B?
Yes, sir. B, sir.
Wait, hold on. When we went up here, what is this? What is 4? Somebody did say seminiferous tubule, right?
No, sir. Seminal vesicle.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody said seminiferous tubule, right? I'll just locate them and quietly relieve them of their space in the meat. I'm just joking. 42. Which of the following events occurring during the ovarian cycle is a result of the negative feedback caused by an increase in estrogen levels? Go ahead. We did this already.
D.
Repeat it.
Yes,
D.
D. Decreased secretion of follicle stimulating hormone after the release of secondary oocyte. Alright. Here now, this refers to the following events seen in development and implantation of human embryo. So we have the inner cell mass forms, then the allantois fuses with the chorion, then we have chorionic villi grow, and we have maternal blood sacs form. So what is the correct sequence of events? Isn't it in order already or not?
I say 1, 3, then 4.
And 2, yeah. I'm thinking B, sir.
Okay.
B.
Because you say inner cell mass forms? What does that even speak to?
I think that's just like, I think they're just talking about the blastocyst.
The blastocyst. Alright. 44. Which of the following is an important function of the mammalian placenta?
A.
A, sir.
45. Which of, okay, we know that this is peanut bifida. Alright, so that is it. Alright, so that is the end of the 2016 paper.